So beating all of the zones unlocks this. You might be wondering what kind of a new zone this is. And you'll be sorely disappointed, as you can immediately tell by the boss theme immediately playing. This is a boss rush. I don't know why they decided to make a boss rush again. Like, Dimps had already done this with Sonic Advance 2, and that was terrible. Although ironically enough, this boss rush is the least offensive in the Sonic franchise. As usual, they take less hits to kill. This boss is actually different because the platforms raise and fall as you stand on them, so that's pretty annoying. But not too bad. Like, the boss is still pretty easy. This boss is different in that there's retractable spikes on the arena. And I didn't notice that it was a difference, so I didn't show it off in the footage. But yeah, I'm going to be editing for this, so that I don't show you everything all over again. Next up is the Lost Labyrinth boss. And there's actually a trick you can do where you can stand on the very left or right side of the arena when those columns are rising up. And you can get a free hit in by just jumping at Eggman. I guess it just didn't occur to me. I assumed there would be an invisible wall there or something. That boss isn't very fun. I heard it's even worse on the mobile version. Not really sure, I guess it's the touch controls, just not make it very fun. And here, it completely skips over the annoying first phase and goes straight to the second one. So that's good. The inflatable Eggmobile that he can throw at you is nearly impossible to dodge, so I'm kind of thankful that I didn't have to deal with it. If the game's hacked so that you can be Super Sonic during a boss fight, you'll see that he has his own victory pose, proving that he was originally going to be playable in boss fights, but they decided not to put enough rings to allow you to do it. It's kind of weird how Sonic took a rocket to get here, and like that rocket didn't have any... Again, how is Eggman faster than Sonic? Like, does he have... I mean, I guess Sonic wouldn't want to hurt him by catching up to him and attacking him before he gets in there. He's too much of a softie. But yeah, I'm guessing that Earth has an extended atmosphere that allows you to breathe oxygen from a further away distance than normal. That's the only explanation I could think of for why Sonic would go take a rocket to space on the outside of it and not, you know, die of oxygen deprivation. But yeah, this boss, it's easier than the final boss of Sonic 2 because you actually get to have rings. And you can actually jump into him without constantly getting damaged by that stupid claw that is always rised up so that you jump into it. Like, this time, the boss is actually fair. It has a really dickish section at the very end, and it can be unintuitive at times, but it's at least entirely not luck-based. I believe that you just duck, and you can dodge that attack. Although it's pretty hard to dodge that attack because he sends it up so quickly and suddenly. But yeah, it's easy to dodge that attack because it's not like he sends it out suddenly and quickly. It's not like he walks and that's the natural pace of his walking. It's not like you have to jump into him, hope that you don't get knocked into the claw. What's really annoying about this boss is that because of the rush ring physics, the rings can scatter away from you and just bounce so high that... And they disappear so quickly, it's not even funny. So it's really easy for you to end up with 0 rings. And like have to... Well, I mean, the good thing is after a certain point in this boss fight, it's really easy to avoid getting hit. Like, a lot of people say that this guy's unpredictable, but just spin dash here. Like, I never really found it hard to avoid that attack. Like, people say that he's unpredictable at this part of the fight, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, this part of the boss fight is really unintuitive. What I didn't realize was that after you hit this electrified claw into him, then you have to jump into him to attack. I assumed that just hitting the claw back at him was enough to damage him all by itself. You really don't want to homie attack into it if it lands on the ground, because you get bounced away from it, so you're better off just jumping onto it over and over again. But yeah, my main strategy for this boss involved staying on the leftmost side of the screen, or the rightmost side. So naturally I wasn't able to see that the boss was stunned and waiting for me to actually jump into it. It's easy to avoid this attack too, because you listen to the audio cues, and even if you're not listening to the audio, you just wait until it's green for longer than normal, and then you spin dash. I like to stay on the very left side of the screen, or the very right side of the screen, and then the electrified claw is it's right above me. But you can actually jump onto it from the right side if it's on the very left side of the screen, and somehow that'll knock it back into Eggman, even though you jumped at it from the opposite side that should send it towards Eggman. That's convenient. An easier way is that you can actually duck right in front of Eggman when he's shooting out that electrified claw, and it won't hurt you. I wish I had known that. I just assumed that I would get hurt. It's very easy to die in this boss. I hate the energy ball that he shoots out. It's pretty easy to get hit by it. And this is the worst final boss theme I've ever heard. It's so short and repetitive, and it's overly goofy for what this is supposed to be. This boss, it's pretty annoying. This boss actually requires more hits to kill than Sonic 2's final boss, which only required 12. But here you have rings, and it's really easy to avoid getting hit when you know what to do. The only unintuitive thing is that the electrified claw doesn't hurt the boss all by itself, it just stuns it. Which took a long time for me to figure out. But other than that, this boss is entirely skill-based. You can develop a strategy for it and avoid getting hit. A lot of people find this boss hard, and it is. Of course it's hard. I wouldn't have died so many times to it if it wasn't hard. But this is a lot more playable than the final boss in Sonic 2. And see? I homie attack it from the right side, and somehow it flings over to Eggman and stuns it. Not complaining. The PlayStation 3 version of this game actually supports custom soundtracks. So you can actually play through the entire boss rush hearing the Rocky theme or something. Which is good because it's really annoying hearing the short and repetitive boss Sting theme throughout its entirety. In the mobile version of the game, you have to use tilt controls for the special stages. And you could do a hard 90-degree turn with your tablet, and the special stage will lag behind it. It just doesn't work. The earliest publicity for Episode 1 called it by the codename of Project Needlemouse. Mr. Needlemouse is one of the developers of Sonic 1 called Sonic Force. During Sega's character countdown for the game, one of the characters listed was Sonic's new friend Mr. Needlemouse. Over the course of the countdown, Needlemouse's name stayed as others got rejected. On the final day, where Sonic was revealed to be the only character playable, Mr. Needlemouse was the only character to have more than one rejection stamp over his name. This may have been self-deprecation to the game's trend of having characters other than Sonic playable. But people were annoyed at how they couldn't play as Tails or Knuckles in this. I hate this part of the boss fight so much. Watch out, he's up to something. Bullshit, I jumped into him. That is such a Kaizo trap. You pretty much have to know ahead of time what to do. Don't be on the ground or I'll stun you, and then you're guaranteed to die. I know that's not technically a Kaizo trap, because it's not like you're dying during a cutscene, but come on! It feels like a Kaizo trap, but that's all that really matters in the end. I don't think it's very fun how you spend 7 minutes in a boss fight, and then something just kills you at the last minute, you have to do it all over again. And that wasn't there in the mobile version. But yeah, you collect all the rings here and you can turn into Super Sonic for the ending. And you unlock a Sonic head costume if you're on the Xbox version. But whatever. I really wish they just turned into Super Sonic regardless. You have all the Chaos Emeralds, so... I don't know. But yeah! That was Sonic 4 Episode 1. And again, I know this game is controversial, but... to be honest, this is really a good game. I don't care about how the physics are different, because it's still a fast and fun game in its own way. I mean, I don't like the fact that when you're in ball form, you slow down. Even if you spin dash on top of a slope. That's really not how it should be. but you can just air dash a whole bunch and you go quicker. Like, and there's lots of dash pads everywhere, so, like, even though people complain about dash pads in Sonic games, ignoring the fact that Sonic is supposed to be a speedy, thrilling game, where dash pads are kind of the point, you know? Like, there's still platforming in this game, so I don't see the point of complaining about dash pads. Like, it's kind of hard to get up to top speed in this game because you have to air dash a whole bunch, and that requires a lot of horizontal space, rather than just spin dashing in place. Like, can you imagine how annoying Casino Street Zone would be if you had no dash pads to get you up all the walls? You have to stop and spin dash every single time. Or maybe not, since you can just walk up a wall easily. But the point is, I really do appreciate this game for what it is. Even though it doesn't control just like a Genesis Sonic game, or even a Game Gear Sonic game, or an Advanced Sonic game. Well, Advanced 1 anyways. Even though this game plays differently than the Genesis games, it's still a fun game that I can definitely recommend. The level design is great, except for Lost Labyrinth Zone, which can go down in a fire. But that's really the only bad level in the game. It's only 4 zones, but that's because it's just the first episode. Which is weird because I consider Sonic 4 Episode 1 to be a separate game from Episode 2. And for good reason, because like Episode 2 has completely different physics. Like, not completely different, but it has actual momentum in it. And it has different zones and boss fights. And a different story even. Like, that makes it qualify as a different game to me. Like, I don't know. And you also have to keep in mind the mindset of the fan base at the time. Like, this was 2010. It had been so long since we had gotten anything resembling classic gameplay. Even the 2D games on the handhelds didn't, like, they had kind of deviated from what classic Sonic gameplay had been, like with Advance 2 and 3 and Rush. So it was a huge relief to have this nostalgia trip of a game. Even though it was misguided in that they just used the Rush engine, it was still a great game that reminds me of what's so great about 2D Sonic. In the leaked build of the game, Mad Gear Zone Act 1 actually had a giant cog with bubbles in your way. So they changed it to be less cheap, which is good. And if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, this is what you see! Personally, I think that you shouldn't need to get all the Chaos Emeralds to see this. Like, why do we need to have all the emeralds to see this? A lot of people were hyped at that. That's right, Metal Sonic is showing up in Sonic 4 Episode 2. I can't wait to show off that game, even though the boss fights are kind of, well, long. Next game I'm going to be showing off is Sonic Colors. I'm not really excited about that game, but I am excited about showing off its, well, cutscenes. You'll see what I do.